We're back again, and that was, we talked to the Bayard Western Center leaders, followers, Stephanie, my main #1 fan in Princeton, possibly my only one that I know, at least vocal, and then Carol Watchler at the Bayard Western Center. I'm on my best behavior. This is a more Princetonian-centric show, and I'm glad to have someone I have followed, but only met possibly for my second time.
Okay.
The ubiquitous activist Bainy Suri.
I'll take
Bainy,
that.
I can't even keep up with what you're involved in.
Okay.
Why are you here today, though?
Today, I'm here to talk about plastic pollution, which is probably the thing I think I'm known best for in town. I arrived in Princeton in 2010 and got together with a group of activists. They had all seen the movie Bag It, which is a film that talks about single-use plastics, particularly plastic bags. And after seeing that movie, a group of us led by Sophie Glovier, who is the Princeton Environmental Commission chair now, she wasn't at the time, but she got a group together and we started canvassing local merchants and having them sign a pledge and doing a lot of outreach. So we strung up 500 bags in the plaza, in Heinz Plaza, and that day, as luck would have it, there was like this crazy heat wave. So I think the climate crisis was really showing itself. Right. But we ended up having a big kickoff party. And for 2 years, we did a lot of outreach and activism, going to people and making them aware of the issue, showing the film all across the state, really, but trying to focus on efforts in Princeton. And then in 2011, there was 3 of us, Stephanie Chorney, who was then the co-chair of the Princeton Environmental Commission. And remember, the Princeton Environmental Commission's task or goal is really to be advising the town. So the town should be taking advice from the Princeton Environmental Commission.
They're like a clearinghouse of information.
Exactly.
They do research.
Exactly. But when they make recommendations, as Stephanie had made, they really should be following them. And so she boldly came out in support of legislation to address the plastic pollution issue. And
basically ban them. We shouldn't just stop.
Well, so originally our tactic was to ban them. We looked at a bunch of ordinances, and Daniel Harris, who is also an activist, he does
he's been on the show before.
A lot of social justice type things. And I worked together, and we wrote an ordinance to ban them. And then we began doing work to try to get that ordinance passed. And it really got stalled. In 2014, Brian Hughes, who is the county executive, put a referendum, a non-binding referendum. So think of that as a question on the ballot. And the question was something like this: would you be supportive of having some sort of a fee or a charge for the bags?
Was he hedging his bets and he was trying to be non-committal?
No, he actually took a bold stand by putting it.
This was bold.
I do. It was very bold. It was very bold because he brought the question up. Now, unfortunately, it did not pass in Mercer County. But the interesting thing, or the thing that I think you'll find this fascinating, because I'm a statistics person, but every single town, every single district, and you know we have 22 districts in Princeton.
The county.
In Princeton.
Yeah, District 13.
Every district, except for, I think it was 13, voted overwhelmingly to pass some sort of legislation to deal with the bag issue. So you can imagine if you were running for mayor, as I think maybe you are, council, this would be like you're being able to get every single district, except for one, to agree to vote for you.
Well, at least one subject. Yeah, they're definitely agree with
that's incredible. That's incredible to have that kind of resident support. So we continued to do work, we continued to advocate. A couple years later, I began to do more research, and I got in touch with a woman named Jenny Romer, who was writing the legislation for New York, the state of New York. And we began to talk, and I decided there was so much resistance from the merchant community, specifically from McCaffrey's.
Yeah, what is that? They think it's going to hurt sales?
They're worried. Well, I think in the case of McCaffrey's, and I should really let them speak for themselves, but I think the issue that they kept raising was that people would drive to ShopRite to get a bag for free.
And is there any evidence in other communities this has happened?
Not really. And the other thing to note is that the cost of gas to make that trip would make it prohibitive to save money on the 10-cent charge.
I don't think people would be that hard-headed just to do that.
I don't think people would be either. And studies have actually shown how effective these remedies are, these bans and these charges. So in Australia, they passed a ban, and in 3 months, reduction 80%. Of the use of the bags.
What would they do? Charge an extra 5 cents to your bill?
In Australia, they had banned them, but I ended up changing my bill from a ban to a charge. Okay, and the reason that I did that is that it showed that charges were very effective, and what we did was the idea was that the merchants could keep the money.
Right, would it be 5 cents a bag? I know
10 cents, it was 10 cents charge on paper and plastic.
Because if I can interject, my wife, they did that in Ecuador, they charge 5 cents, it just went right on your bill. She said in 3 months almost everything changed.
Yes.
Everything,
it's one of those things. My mother, I think she loves me. I know she loves me. And she'll bring me Indian food. And today she brought me Indian food in a paper bag.
Oh, where are you from? I have to bother you.
That's okay.
Who are you? No, I'm sorry.
But it's really funny, you know.
I thought you were Mexican. No,
I'm Indian, but Southeast Asian. Yeah. She will bring me food in a plastic bag, and she knows what I'm working on, and she wants to be supportive. But the first day she has to pay 10 cents,
it all changes.
She will not take the bag. Yeah. And it's not that she doesn't have the 10 cents. It's just that when you enact a fee on something that people think in their mind is free, and of course it's not free because the store is paying for the bag, and it causes degradation to the planet.
Right.
People don't take the bag. Exactly. So then things stalled.
That's economic behavioralism.
Exactly, and it works.
Yeah.
Heather Howard was in supportive of the ordinance, and Jenny Krummeler was in support. So I had two people on council.
So for those who don't know, because a lot of people don't, that's the Princeton Council we're talking about now.
So 2 people from the Princeton Council were for it. The Princeton Environmental Commission was for it. Now we have this new ordinance. It gives the money back to the merchants, and it stalls.
And they can do whatever they want with it.
They can do whatever they want with the money. They just need to report the decline in the number of bags they're ordering. There was an exemption for people that were on welfare or a SNAP program, which is a New Jersey state welfare food stamp program. There was an exemption for restaurants if they had a hardship. It was a really nice, friendly piece of legislation. It was written with Princeton in mind. I authored it myself. I did all the research.
It was tailored to specific things.
Specifically for Princeton.
Yeah.
And it stalled because I was told that enacting a charge on a bag would be a tax. Now, you know what the definition of a tax is, right?
I could give you various ones, but probably not the one you're thinking about. Okay.
So what needs to happen for it to be a tax? Who do you think needs to make the charge and keep the money?
The government.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
That's the power to tax. It's the power to govern and all that. Yeah. It's
if the government's not keeping the money, do you think it's a tax?
No.
No. So I was told that it might not be constitutional. We spent the money to hire a lawyer to do some research, and in the meantime, Longport.
But they're doing it in other towns all over the country. Yeah.
Longport passed the ordinance, and so at that point, I think I began to realize that Princeton just wasn't interested in moving it forward. I couldn't get it on the agenda. People were not willing to just put it on the agenda and at least vote on it.
Well, we're getting a little controversial. Let's go for speculation. Why, though? Because I don't want, again, this is speculation. I'm not saying, are there some powers that be that have influence on the council?
Well,
or they just think it's
the idea was that it would be good to pass when McCaffrey's came out in support of it. So that's kind of like saying
they're driving the boat.
We'll pass smoking legislation when smokers decide that they want to be prohibited from smoking in a bar. Okay, that's not going to happen.
I have to say it is very much deflating and almost hypocritical because we talk so much in this town about being eco-friendly. I mean, I hear it all the time, sustainability and everything. So why wouldn't they go for it?
I don't know if I can comment to those particular adjectives or their use in the sense that whether I would go that far. I like to believe in my heart, and I do, as Greta Thunberg says, that we really can't assume that our elected officials understand the gravity of the situation and fail to act. Otherwise, that makes them evil. I think the problem was wanting to try to create a situation where there was a win-win for everybody. Mm-hmm. And when you're changing societal norms, when you're trying to change behavior, somebody has to, in the status quo, take a step back. And so plastic polluters would have to pay for their pollution. But I think on balance, being able to stop that plastic pollution is a greater good.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the other thing is to call yourself a green town and to look to see that Paramus, Secaucus, other towns, including in our own Mercer County, Hopewell, have passed plastic pollution legislation, and we in Princeton have not.
And it's been working, too.
It's been working across the state, and different towns are doing different things. Some are going for balloons, some are going for bags, some are going for both, some are going for styrofoam.
Straws are going to be next, probably, I think.
But in Lambertville, they did this in 2 months. So they said, let's legislate first. Let's all admit plastic's a problem. Let's all admit that we don't want voluntary compliance. We actually want some legislation on the books. And then let's pass the legislation and then do education and outreach.
So everyone was prepared for it to happen, the inoculation, so to speak. And
exactly. Exactly. And I think that's really important. You know, you can't always fall back on doing education and outreach programs, at some point you have to sort of put bills in place and then talk to people and work with them.
Right. That's what I believe.
I really think this is a win-win for everybody, particularly for local merchants, because it shows that they are vested in the community, that they care about plastic pollution.
And the long-term sanity and environmental safety of this planet. I mean, it's happening already.
But you look at the numbers, and I just will share some facts from a plastic bag challenge that we have. The average American uses 500 paper and or plastic bags a year, and that's based on EPA estimates from Garbology.
And paper takes a lot to produce too. They got to cut down trees and everything. Right.
A ton, actually. Paper can be more resource intensive in terms of what it takes to make bags. New Jersey has approximately 8.8 million people. That was from the 2012 census. So think about that number times 500 bags. You're talking about 4.4 billion bags in the state of New Jersey.
Is that why we have a plastic bag island the size of Texas in the middle of the Pacific?
Exactly.
I saw pictures of it. But it's killing animals.
It's killing animals. It's killing the planet. Yeah. It also affects stormwater management because these bags get caught in drains. Right. And they cause problems. And so that plastic is coming into your system, either through your waterways or through the ocean or through fish that you eat. It's destructive. It doesn't biodegrade. And it uses fossil fuels.
Right.
And so this is a really low-hanging piece of fruit. Right. You can utilize a tool. A lot of times I always say, like, when you're looking at whether a tool is good or bad, you want to look at what you hope to accomplish. And then you do some analysis to see if it's the right tool. But we know this is the right tool because we've seen the statistics of how quickly the bag usage will drop when you enact legislation. It's like a no-brainer. And it's not expensive. Right. And you can always do a phase-in period. So you can let the merchants have a year or 6 months even to phase in. But if we had done this back in 2011 when it was first proposed, we would have been the first town in the entire state to do it, and we would have saved our population times 500 bags.
And it would probably be the norm now, and no one would even remember the arguments against it that started 5 years ago.
Exactly.
So, I mean, we got to take responsibility. I'm sorry. I mean, I know the Republicans come in, and some Democrats. What is this, a nanny state? And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but maybe the oil lobbyists are behind some of those think tanks and stuff.
Well, it's really interesting. So the Food Council sent, obviously, as soon as I have been working and seeing all these other towns in Jersey pass legislation, I brought the issue up again. And the first point of defense was, we need to wait for the state to act, because the Food Council had sent a letter to all of the towns in Jersey advocating that they take no action.
So that's their playbook. They already have a playbook. Yeah, they already have a playbook.
And fortunately, ANJAC, who New Jersey Environmental Lobby has worked with very closely on this issue, was bold enough, again, you see bold leaders, to come out and say, don't buy what the Food Council is saying. Right. They're telling you to wait because they're hoping for no action.
Exactly. They're not working in anyone's interest.
They're not working in anyone's interest except their own, right? So they don't want to see these plastic bags go away. But if you really look on balance, if you look at the totality of the circumstances, it makes sense that towns will pass this legislation, and then once it becomes confusing, the state will kind of be forced to act, right? And I do think Mercer County is very close to passing something. Their ordinance looks remarkably similar to ours, which is really good news. And I think that we could pass an ordinance, and then we could work over time to amend it to make it more aggressive.
You tweak it. But I like that point, too. You already have the facts, so it's not like you're arbitrarily starting something. Just put it in effect and then start tweaking it.
And
we'll work with people.
At least put it up for a vote. If you're against it, let the people of Princeton know that you would vote against it.
The votes can be tricky then. Then you have to really work hard to make sure people turn out and vote, especially those who want, educate them and say.
I was talking about council and saying when it comes up.
Oh, the council. That would take, and again, maybe for whatever reason the council might be wary of this, then you need public pressure. You need people to actually get up there.
Well, I think the hard thing is people in Princeton are so supportive of action on this issue that they don't think it's a crisis. So like with the composting or with zoning issues, people are affected, they'll come down to council and they'll fill the room.
Oh yeah, parking and zoning.
But I think we just, for whatever reasons, I think most people in Princeton feel like this is a no-brainer. It's a dead issue. Like, how is it that we need to come out in droves to support this?
But we forget it's still happening.
I think that, yes, it's still up for discussion. And actually, I got a letter, interestingly, from a coalition 2 days ago that was sending a list of signees on this long letter about the need for the state to act. And in the first sentence it said, amazing towns in New Jersey, like Princeton, New Jersey, have passed plastic ordinances. And I had to go out and tell this coalition, sort of sheepishly, feeling like a milquetoast, you know what? We haven't passed anything in Princeton. We got the party started, but we didn't finish the job.
So in the remaining time, where are you at now, and when is the next
So now
step?
things are starting to work. I am meeting with the PEC on Wednesday, and I do believe
PEC is what,
the Princeton Environmental Commission, that they are going to be supporting that we make this a priority. And I believe they'll be supporting that we look to use legislation to solve the problem. I'll let the PEC issue something formal on that, but I will be meeting with them again. And then I do think that there are council people that are interested in seeing this pass. I think the main issue that always comes up is the merchants. So we just have to figure out how we work with them. And one thing that I've suggested is having a conference where we have almost like a merchant fair.
I just want to know the stumbling block, is it whatever.
And, it's I think McCaffrey's is the stumbling block, and some of the merchants, maybe a few.
And you said they have this fear that
But
somehow
remember,
they might lose business.
we did canvass 32 merchants. 32 merchants.
So you really did listen and did outreach.
And
right.
32 of them signed a pledge.
Right.
So I do think there's a lot of
can
support in
happen.
the merchant community. It's just sometimes the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Gotcha.
And so people that are louder and more vocal flush out the other
So you just have to be
conversations.
persistent and bring this up again.
I think we need to be very persistent, and we need to remember that Princeton carries a lot of weight. And so if we can act and West Windsor can act, and Hopewell's already acted, we're starting to get traction across the county, then maybe it will help push the state to act. Because I do think the bill will be reintroduced by Senator Smith, and that there's a chance to pass something. And so,
the Republican Smith, the Hamilton, Trenton Senator Smith, Congressman Smith.
No, Senator Smith. He's in charge of the energy.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is a different
and
Smith.
environment.
Not Chris Smith, Congressman.
No,
okay.
yeah,
okay.
he's in charge of the Energy and Environment Commission, and so he is very interested in seeing action on this issue, and he's going to try to reintroduce something. But again, towns have been told, please don't wait. Please don't wait.
Right.
Please act. The faster you can act, the more quickly you can pass something, the better. And so what we need to do is pass something and then work out the logistics.
Right.
I'd love to see us do something like what Lambertville did, where they brought in like vendors who have compostable materials, and they were able to let the merchants kind of shop around and see different products and feel the products and get the pricing.
And that helps too. There's alternatives. Everyone is heard.
I think that's so insightful. You're right. There are always alternatives.
Well, my alternative is this. I told my wife we have 6 bags, regular, cloth bags we keep in the back of the car. We hardly use any plastic or paper anymore. Just do it.
Just do it.
God dang
just
it.
do it.
Okay.
I keep the bags in the back of my, and no one's perfect, and I don't think there ever needs to be any shaming around this issue.
Oh, yeah.
The idea is that you keep things in your car, right? Like I have these really great reusable. So I keep a set of these in my car. I keep a set in my bag. It's easy. I keep the bags in my bag.
It's just
in the back
taking
of
the
my
time
car.
to think about it and just do it. And then after a while it becomes a habit, and then you never want to go back again.
Exactly. That's what happened, you saw with the composting program, is that people got so excited about being able to save their food waste that they just don't want to go back. And the same thing happens with the bags. I see people come into Trader Joe's with like pride on their face.
Right.
I see people shopping at Whole Earth, which I don't
I'm
know if
embarrassed.
you know, doesn't have the bags.
Yeah, I'll
and
carry
hasn't.
things sometimes instead of taking a bag.
Me too.
How can people reach you, or what else?
So people can reach me either my email at Bainy, B-A-I-N-Y, Suri, S-U-R-I, @gmail.com, or I have a Facebook page called BYO Bag Regenerate Princeton. And so you can like that page and message me that way too. But I would love to get some more supporters, and I so appreciate being on the show.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And if you have problems, bag it, but bag it in a regular disposable bag or one of these bags.
A reusable bag.
Reusable
nice
bag.
reusable bag.
That's some part of symbolism I use there. Bag your problems.
Those are my utensils,
So
but that's okay.
I'm violating your privacy now, too.
No, it's all right.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Bainy.
Adam.
Thank you very much. And we'll be right back.